Yes, team, welcome back to another episode of the High Performance Coach podcast. A slightly different episode this week as the captain has put together a list of questions to ask and interview me on, talking through my journey and my story. We will unpack why I used to have raw carrots in my packed lunchbox whilst at school, what I used to get up to with my cast York iron dumbbells and Men's Health magazines in my bedroom, and my skill as a ball cleaner and what it was like now playing in professional sport after leaving school at 16. I was slightly apprehensive about this episode, but also excited at the same time, and I'm hoping that it's going to provide some relatability and also some insight. So I hope you enjoy the episode and I look forward to hearing your feedback. A slightly different podcast episode today. The captain in his second podcast appearance. How are you feeling?
Good. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to getting to know a bit more about yourself and you're a bit deeper into what kind of makes you who you are today.
Good, mate. You are the Louis Theroux of the fitness industry. I think Jen was the one that said that you're always curious and always have an abundance of questions for you to now be able to bring to the table. So, mate, I know you've been working away in terms of compiling a list. So, mate, I'll let you be the captain of the ship and, walk and talk us through obviously the questions that you have, and hopefully we can provide some insight and unpack a few things.
Perfect. Right, let's get straight into it then. So, I want to take you back to your earliest years. Tell us a bit about what we need to know from your earliest years that kind of make and shape you into the man you are today.
Yeah, so right now, obviously, we're in Scotland, but I obviously haven't always been in Scotland. Actually, when I was at school, I used to listen to the weather reports on the radio that were like, it's snowing in Scotland, and they had so they had snow days, and I would be praying for the day that obviously at primary school and secondary school, we'd have more snow days. And I also thought I would never, ever live in Scotland. So it's amazing and weird and wonderful how the world works. So yeah, originally obviously from Cornwall, and then moved to North Devon when I was 5. And from an upbringing perspective, and obviously an experience perspective, and obviously from a family security, safety, and kind of love side of things, it was absolutely amazing. Like, I couldn't ask for anything more. We had so many incredible experiences, opportunities, and like my parents just gave us the platform just to be able to go and do as many different clubs and activities as I can really remember. My stepdad always recalls the first ever time that he took me to football practice, which is on a Saturday morning down at a local village park, and he always says that the first ever time that I went to that training, I basically cried the whole way there. I didn't want to go, and I didn't want to be there. Little did I know that was going to be the start of like this footballing obsession that I then kind of really had for probably the best part of 15 odd years, with just now wanting to be the best that I could be a professional footballer. And that kind of one individual sport then turned into cross country, rugby, and just a whole host of differing things. And for me, when I look back at that time and I look at what obviously like the family were able to provide, obviously for myself, for my sister, for my brother, and what they're able to do, like I just look back at with just nothing other than admiration and just huge appreciation, because I know the compromise and sacrifices that my parents had to make to give us those opportunities, how hard they were, the values that they tried to instill in us. Even my stepdad, when I was younger, was like a disciplinarian. Like, he was just so he was the hard one. My mum was always the soft one, and even if I was like 2 minutes late for tea, like I would be in deep trouble, and that wasn't now allowed. And almost the standards, I suppose, that I didn't necessarily appreciate or acknowledge at the time, that were then almost installed at that age in terms of like how to do things and how you want to operate, how you want to be able to behave. And I think obviously what they were able to provide was something that I could only dream about being able to, like, if I can live up to even just 5 or 10% moving forward, and that would be absolutely amazing. And I think it's really powerful, because I think I said this on one of the really, really early episodes, and that is like, you are there to plant seeds. And when I look back now and I look at especially like my stepdad, and I look at obviously the way in which we were kind of able to operate, how we were able to behave in terms of like what was kind of expected of us in terms of like doing your homework. And I did a paper round. It was like, right, okay, it doesn't matter whether it's a 60-mile-an-hour gale force wind. You're going out and you're basically doing that. Your mum isn't going to drive you around today. Just go and get it done. And obviously, again, like those little things in terms of like the jobs and the kind of things we had to do around the house just to be able to kind of support and have our own kind of like responsibilities. Like at the time, I was just like, this is like why are they kind of so like structured and disciplined with us? But now I look back and I can appreciate like why they did that, like, you know, why they did that, why they behaved that way, and why they kind of gave us that platform and like the power of obviously being able to like give us those responsibilities and like the importance of how you kind of turned up for yourself, the responsibility and the autonomy around certain things and how things needed to be done. And I think like that for me is at the time I was like, why has he been so hard on me? But it was only because he wanted the absolute very, very best for me. And only wanted us to now be able to, like, yeah, I suppose, learn the skills and also allow ourselves the chance to be able to appreciate the challenges, the hardships, and everything that will happen in life, and how you can now basically be as best prepared and as best equipped, I suppose. So when I looked at a lot of my friends, I'd be like, well, they would be allowed out past 8 o'clock on a Friday night. Like I always had to be home before that time because I had football training on a Saturday morning. We always had tea as a family at 6 p.m. on like a Monday to Friday, and if I was, say, like 2 minutes late, then I'd be in deep trouble if I hadn't unloaded the dishwasher potentially first thing in the morning. It was the same thing, like made your own packed lunches, all these kind of different things that like at the time I was like, my friends are having their mums do it for, but then actually now I realised like that was just so integral to me, and it's nothing other than I have nothing other than just so much like love and appreciation and gratitude. Obviously, we had an abundance of love, and we had incredible experiences and incredible upbringing. But also, like I say, if I look at it for me, it's like that's the stuff that really kind of shaped and molded me, I believe, without me necessarily now knowing that. Even just something as simple as like having a paper round and actually now having something that, you know what, I had to do for myself. It was on my head. If I didn't get up in the morning, the papers didn't get delivered, I got paid like £42 at the end of every single week, and I'd have it come in a brown envelope. And even just now being able to like have that thing, which I did for 7 years, 7 days a week, getting up and just having that like, right, okay, this is your responsibility. For me, and being able to like earn my own money and like kind of create my own opportunity, obviously within that realm, like, yeah, when I look back at it now, it's like, yeah, one of the best things that ever happened to me. So from my side, like from an upbringing perspective, incredible experiences, incredible opportunities, an incredibly loving family. I've got both myself and Leanne have an amazing relationship with my family, and we love spending time with them. And yeah, if I can be half of what they have been and what they've been able to provide, then I'll be a happy man.
Yeah, no, that's class. That's so good. And sticking on that, what would you say that your kind of time at school was like, and what were you kind of like as a kid in school, if you could describe?
If I think about secondary school, the one big thing that always stands out for me is that I was always the sporty kid. I was also the weird kid that that would obviously make his own packed lunches, and everybody else would be eating like squares bars, and I'd turn up with a raw carrot and a banana for my break, and I'd be the guy that would literally just be sat in the school playground gnawing on a raw carrot, and it was like, yeah, like, just. So whereas everyone else is literally eating Milky Ways and Lion bars and double deckers and getting stuff from the tuck shop, as it were, but obviously back then, so I'm like, I was obviously just like slightly out of place, but I had this like huge obsession with just health and fitness and wanting to look after myself, and that came from when I was 11. I was basically part of a centre of excellence, which was basically all the best football players in North Devon basically went to this centre of excellence, which was on a Monday. And the way in which it basically worked was at the end of every season, you would basically get given a scorecard, and it would be like shooting, dribbling, fitness, heading, reading the game, etc. And if you got more than 3, they basically did A, B, C, and they would rate you. And if you got more than 3 Cs, you would then have to retrial for the next season. If you got less than 3 Cs, you basically automatically go up into the next age group, and you wouldn't obviously have to retrial. And I remember at the end of one season, I've actually still got it upstairs, and it basically said on the kind of the report card, it basically had 3 C's, and one thing that it said was basically Joe needs to work on his fitness, Joe needs to kind of like lose weight, and it was kind of around the like I just now needed to kind of focus on those 2 things. And I always remember like just feeling not just slightly off the pace. And when I received that, whilst potentially like now, you know, giving an 11-year-old a report card that basically says need to lose weight, need to go on a diet, needs to improve his fitness, probably isn't the best way to communicate. Back then, it was probably the best thing that, again, happened to me, because it lit a fire in me like nothing else. And then pretty much from that day forwards, I then started to train. I was basically running. I was then kind of like watching what I ate. And was being just far more considerate around basically how I was now trying to fuel myself, even at that age. Hence the carrots in the packed lunchbox. And even at school, like again, everybody was going out and drinking and doing all those things, whereas I would be out running. I would be, the cast your iron dumbbells that you used to put under your bed. I'd literally go home and just do just as many curls as humanly possible. I'd do X amount of press-ups. I then had a recumbent bike that we got for cheap out of like a Gumtree or whatever it was. And I would literally just go home. I would have pasta, cheese and gravy. I'm not sure where that came from either. Weird. Such a weird child. And then I would literally like go and do like this circuit. And every day was basically like football, it was fitness, or it was some type of like physical sporting activity. And again, like got back to like my stepdad especially, and like he would literally drive me and take me everywhere. Flo, a Monday evening it would be football, Tuesday it would be football, Wednesday it would be rugby, Thursday it would be football, Friday it would be football, Saturday he was the manager of our team, so it would be football. Sunday we used to play, so it would then be football. And like that was literally just my kind of like sole priority and sole focus. So yeah, when I come back to the school side of things, I was always just a little bit of in my opinion, a little bit of an outlier. I was always the guy that was known for the sports, and always the guy that was known for like the fitness and kind of the football more so than anything else. But all I wanted to do was just do activity, and all I wanted to do was just try my hand at as many different things as possible. And that obviously is a positive thing, because it allowed me to be the captain of all these different teams and everything else. But also at the same time, yeah, it just felt as though that I never really had like a real kind of strong like peer group or a place where I really felt connected, because I was just, I suppose slightly different, because I wasn't going and doing all the things that everybody else was doing, because I was too busy at home curling to Men's Health magazines and just out running the streets or kicking a football against the wall for as many hours as possible, because I just had this huge dream of wanting to be a professional footballer.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I'm glad you said curling to Men's Health magazines rather than anything else.
Not what the typical 15-year-old lad is doing. Yeah, I was just literally curling to Men's Health magazines.
Yeah. and then would you say that that's kind of come at a cost to anything, like that kind of obsession with the kind of more sporty sides? Did that have a cost to your academic sort of studies, or do you think you still had to focus there?
It's one of those, right, where I think you almost like when you become like good on like known for this thing, it was like, oh, it's all right because you've got the sports, you know. So that was always the thing. Like all I ever cared about was like double PE that day, you know, like as an example. And at school, like I was never the most like academic. Like my little brother, like he's incredibly academic and far more intelligent than me. And like for me with school, like it was just effort and having to really, really try more so than anything. So I didn't get bad grades. But that came back down to, again, I bring back to the start, it's like the discipline, the structure, the importance of basically just giving your best, the importance of just like having, like, I remember one day my granddad, who's probably been the most influential figure in terms of like, again, like my life, especially along with obviously my parents, basically just said like, have no regrets. And it's being able to make sure that you just leave everything out there and being able to then take full responsibility for like, you know, everything that kind of happens, you know, to you. And as long as you know that you've applied, obviously your best effort, and that's all that you can do. And so when exams and all those things came, it was like I would basically just lock myself away and I would just like study, because I didn't now want to be the person who then got the grades and then felt disappointed that I didn't give it my best effort. And so, yeah, the academic side never came easy. I was never top of the class. I was never bottom of the class. I was always that in between. But I was always somebody that, especially at school, I would just put in the effort when was now needed. And I think it was like, yeah, those kind of periods that was the most, again, integral, and just the application and the importance of just trying and giving it your best, I suppose.
Yeah. And do you think, so that kid in school that's kind of full focused on sports, full focused on your exercise, eating right and things like that, do you think at that point you knew kind of the direction you wanted your life to go in?
All I wanted to do was be a professional footballer. And because I spent so much time then just training and running and looking after them, like naturally, and then again with the paper round, it was like I had this paper round, right, that you had to, it was 7 days a week. I get up, 6:30. I would then cycle to the shop. I'd then have obviously 2 paper bags over each side, so like 30 papers in the left, 30 papers in the right, basically like one over the left shoulder, one over the right shoulder. I'd then cycle a 10-kilometer paper round, and then get back, would walk a mile and a half to school, then would do double PE, walk home, walk a mile and a half home, and play football and all those good things. And I suppose that built such an incredible level of capacity that I then ended up becoming really good at cross country. I then ended up, my dad was a rugby player, so I ended up then obviously delving into the rugby side of things. And so, like, for me, all that I ever wanted to do was just basically be like the very best athlete, the very best sports person, and with obviously the dream of basically becoming a professional footballer, really. And that was my sole and entire focus. And so that was all that I really wanted to do. Everything was now centered towards that. I had opportunities to go to different trials at different clubs, at Exeter City, Plymouth Argyle. Like I said, I was playing football every single day of the week. When I was 13, 14, my stepdad was the manager of our local football team, and we basically decided that I was then going to go up a year and play like a year ahead of myself. So I basically then moved up an age group and basically played in that team. And I was the only person that kind of did that, just to give myself the greatest opportunity to develop physically and play alongside kind of like better players who are more advanced, and to put myself in a slightly better environment. And yeah, everything was geared towards how do I become a professional footballer. That was literally it. And failing that, I don't really think I had any other kind of what was I going to do other than potentially becoming a PE teacher, because I had a huge admiration and respect for my PE teacher. And I think I had a really strong relationship with him. And I actually sent him a message about 6 months ago, just actually thanking him, because he also had such an influential impact on obviously my development based upon his leadership and I believe how he was able to kind of conduct himself. And again, at the time I didn't appreciate that, but now I look back and I'm like, actually he was such an integral person in my development that I'm, again, massively appreciative.
And did he get back to you?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I basically just dropped him a voice note because I had his number. So when I finished school, or I was just about to finish school, obviously everybody else was going to college, and obviously I had a couple of opportunities which we'll come on to in a second, and I ended up just getting his number because I wanted to ask him a few questions about what it was like basically becoming a PE teacher, whether he thinks I could do it, etc. So I always had his number stored in my phone, and so about 6 months ago I dropped him a message and I just said like, "Hey Steve, it's Joe Parrish. I know it's been a little while, but I just wanted to drop in just to thank you, because this is basically where I am. This is like kind of the opportunities that I'm kind of like able to facilitate. And I believe that obviously you've played such an integral role in that journey, and you were such a kind of leader and what you've been able to install in me." And just basically thanked him enormously and just said, I hope that him and his family are well. And again, like sometimes I don't think that was important to me, because obviously, especially with like school teachers and stuff like that, I don't think sometimes you realise or appreciate the incredible work that you're doing and how much of an effect you're having on people. So I think for me, that was just, like the power of influence, and having the right people around you and having somebody that believes in you as well. Like I got taken the piss out of massively because we had we had a lad who played tennis for England, right? He would basically he would go to Loughborough. He was like, he was an unbelievable tennis player. And we used to have like a PE each kind of like different, like semester, I suppose, or term. You would have like different sports that you played. And I remember this one particular term, it was tennis. And so what would typically happen is you start the class, you go into the change rooms, you put your PE kit on, you basically went into the class, and they would basically do a demonstration. And normally in the demonstration, they pick the very best person to do the demonstration. Now, bear in mind, there's this lad who's playing for England right now, who's obviously an incredible tennis player. Like, they would just choose me. But and I remember, like, there was like uproar because it was like you're the people, everybody he loves you, like blah 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 blah. Yeah, just because I didn't really know how to play tennis at all. But yeah, it was just like, right, you're going to do the demonstration. I'm like, I'm probably not the most well equipped, but okay, cool. The teacher tells me what I need to do. So yeah, there was like pieces like that. And again, that's where I suppose if I come back to like a little bit of an outline, there's a little bit of kind of a disconnect because I didn't kind of really fit in, even though I just had this huge want and desire to be liked. I suppose that was just then me constantly looking for external validation. And if I come back down to then the real focus and the obsession and the health and the fitness and looking after my physique, and even at that age, being quite kind of like body focused, and obviously wanting to now win at everything that I did, like that was my way of being like validated through others and trying to please others and trying to almost be liked. And it was almost a bit of a kind of protective mechanism for myself. And that's something that I can kind of recognize and appreciate now. It was like always this need to do more and be bigger and win and have all these things because I just wanted to be liked by other people. And I suppose that was obviously a huge kind of driving force for me that, yeah, at the time I didn't appreciate.
Yeah. And you've kind of touched on a couple already, but I wonder if you can go a bit deeper into the kind of like most influential people of your kind of growing up. I know we've touched on your PE teacher, your grandpa, your stepdad, your mum, but I wonder if you can go any deeper into any of those relationships or if you've got any additions. Yeah,
so like my granddad obviously is probably one of the most integral like figures without a shadow of a doubt, just in terms of just life. You know what I mean? A bit of like a Yoda, where it's just like, and again the same in terms of like the supporting of like us and obviously like giving us the opportunities and coming to our football matches, our rugby games, like. Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. And then, you've got my kind of, grandma and grandpa, who sadly no longer kind of with us, who, again, like have supported us. And then, like my stepdad, again, like to be able to come in and like look after and raise like me and my sister, like as his own, and what he was able to do, and what he was able to provide for us. And then obviously, he then had Billy with my mum. So to be able to then obviously kind of like come in and do what he's done for us was just out of this world. And it was weird, right? Because again, you're there to plant seeds. I look back now and we played rugby on a Wednesday afternoon against Pilton School, right? So it was literally just a school match. My stepdad was a financial advisor, so basically we just got, go to work, pinstripe suit, all that kind of stuff. And like I remember, like he'd come to every single school game. He'd be the only parent stood on the sideline, like on a Wednesday afternoon in the pissing rain. He'd stand there at the time with a fag in his hand, an umbrella, and his pinstripe suit, and I'd be like, it was like he was the only one that would just come to every match and every game and would just like, and like now I look back at that and I'm like, that's unbelievable. Like in terms of the support and considering like, technically not blood, like that was just, like amazing just in terms of the platform and what he was able to instill obviously in like me and us, and what he was able to then kind of just really provide us in terms of just that, well, the opportunity and just nothing other than love, which is amazing. My dad and my stepmom as well, in terms of different kind of like side life, so basically different kind of relationship. Again, they've also been able to contribute and obviously serve and have helped and supported me. And then probably the most influential figure is my mum, without a doubt, I probably can't talk about that because it'll make me emotional. But yeah, like she's one of a kind.
And then touch on, if we can, you've mentioned Billy, is it your brother?
Yeah.
And your sister as well. Can you tell us a bit about both of those? Are they kind of had the kind of same upbringing and things like that? Have they kind of got the same characteristics and kind of traits as yourself, or are they a bit different from yourself?
Yeah, so my sister actually got the dancing gene of the family, and I did not get the dancing. She got the dancing and the singing genes of the family, which I did not. I got the arse end, and did not get given that. No, she worked incredibly hard. So again, my sister basically now runs a dance choreography company down in Plymouth. And again, amazing human being. She has been able to obviously go through obviously with this huge desire and want to become a dancer. And then when she kind of left school, she basically ended up going to a different college a little bit further away to basically go and do more choreography and dance, and obviously tried to go down that route a little bit more so. And yeah, is now obviously running her own kind of dance school, and really is having a huge impact on so many kind of incredible kids. Working with people from like the age of, working for children all the way from I think 4 or 5 all the way then kind of up. So again, like what she's been able to build and create for herself has been amazing. And yeah, she always had a huge desire, to dance, and that was her kind of love, and that was her kind of obsession, and that was her thing. And it was the same. It was from a financial perspective, that was being able to provide the opportunities for myself, for my sister, for my brother. I saw the work, the compromise, and the sacrifice that my parents then had to make to be able to provide us with those opportunities. And Amy was just absolutely in love with just wanting to become the best dancer, singer, choreographer, all that stuff. And yeah, she's now obviously running her own kind of company, and obviously runs her own dance school, which is brilliant. And she's absolutely amazing at, and the children love her, and the skills that she have are brilliant. And then my brother, Billy, who is 25, just actually had a baby. So I'm like an uncle for the first time. He's that laid back, he's almost horizontal. And again, he's just got such an incredible skill set, and could literally just put his hand to anything and he'd be brilliant at. So he's currently an engineer, and yeah, I was just thinking, he's just got such an incredible kind of character about him. And then you have on the then my dad's side and my stepmom's side, you also have my little brother Freddie, who is quite scarily like a 12-year-old version of me. Loves lifting, training, loves doing bicep curls, and again is just obsessed with sports. And then Alice, who is my sister from my dad and my stepmom's side. She's gone off to university, and she's currently studying medicine. Again, highly intelligent and far more educationally equipped than obviously what I was. That's for sure. So they're all so unique, but all now kind of carving their own kind of path and doing great things.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I kind of want to move on from school now, but before we kind of do that, would you say that from going off what you kind of know now and the kind of life lessons you've had, I wonder if you would go back and change anything about your childhood, or anything that you think would benefit you now if anything was different?
I think I would just probably allow myself to accept myself more and realise that I didn't need to please anybody. Because a lot of what I did was just, again, if I reflect on now, it's for validation, for just wanting to be kind of, liked more so than anything else. And I felt as though that there was times where, although I actually did follow my own path and do my own thing, and I just cracked on anyway, and again, everybody would be out drinking White Lightning down the park, and I'd be doing press-ups in my bedroom and running some serious mileage after school or whatever it was. It's I wouldn't now change that, because that's the thing that's made me me. But I would definitely have spent less time worrying about trying to fit in and trying to please, and just be okay with standing in my own shoes and realize that I'm enough as I was. I think probably more so than anything else. That'd probably be the main thing.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And all right. So from school, where did we go from school?
So after I finished school, I basically had a friend who I played football with, who was a couple of years older than me, and he basically went to a Torquay college, and basically it was a like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a feeding, like like a feeding ground, for want of a better word, for obviously them being able to hopefully get a full-time contract. And so when I was basically about to leave school, I know that he'd gone down and he had basically moved from North Devon down to Torquay to go and do that. And again, I still wanted to pursue this massive career of becoming a professional footballer. I had actually given up football for a year, and I'd actually converted over to playing rugby for a full season. And so I was still playing football kind of like 3 days a week, but actually my main game on a Saturday, I was playing fly half for Barnstable Rugby Club under 16s at the time. And I was trialling for Devon, and I was trialling for counties, and I was trying to obviously then kind of pursue that route as well. So when my parents were like, there's this thing, like, is this something you'd be interested in? Again, it wasn't like a contract. It wasn't like you're going to sign on dotted line and you're now going to play professional football. It was just like, no, this is basically like a college of excellence for people who basically want to come and play underneath like Torquay United. And I can't remember what allowed me to make the decision of going to do it. Probably heavily influenced by my parents of just being like, let's go fuck about and find out, and it'll be a great experience. And what's now going to be the worst that's going to happen? So at the age of 16, yeah, I basically didn't go to the local college. I ended up moving 2 hours from home. I then moved in with a lady called Shirley, and I shared a room with a lad called Jamie. And then there was 4 or 5 of us living in this house in Torquay, 16 years old. The gym was just down the road, so I'd go and train in the gym. And I basically got enrolled onto this college course. And within 2 months, not even 2 months, I got the opportunity to then be able to go and trial for the YT, which is basically like between 18 and, is it 18? Yeah. Oh no, sorry, between kind of 16 and 18. It's basically like your YTS. So it's basically kind of youth trainees kind of scholarship. So you basically play underneath. It's a professional. It's a contract. It's full time. You get paid, and it's basically like the nurturing ground to obviously step into the reserves and then obviously the first team. And I ended up getting an opportunity to go and train. I then got the opportunity to go and play. And then 3 months in, they then offered me a contract. I then moved out of the house that I was living in, which actually was something I really enjoyed because I made some great friends and I felt incredibly safe. And then I basically moved into like a house right next to the stadium and moved in with this incredible family called Nina and Rob. They had a couple of kids, and also there was 7 or 8 of us then would live there. So I was then sharing a room with a lad called TJ, and basically you walked up the stairs, square, like kind of square landing, and there was 3 bedrooms on the left with single beds in, 3 bedrooms on the right with obviously single beds in, and then they were all just full of basically players. So I then basically got enrolled into this, like becoming a full-time kind of like footballer. You would get up, you would kind of eat with everybody. You would go to kind of training as a YT. You basically had jobs like clean the boots, clean the stands. At some point, the manager had us like cleaning his car, cleaning offices. We'd be cleaning the balls. We would be doing we would basically just we're like part-time footballers, part-time cleaners. But again, like taught me an incredibly valuable lesson. And again, that was so influential. And so I then basically spent 2 years there. Playing football, spending all my time pretty much out with that at the gym. And it was a weird thing because I go to training, I come home, by that time I passed my driving test, I would then get in the car, I'd then drive to the gym, and then I'd go and train at the gym for 2 hours. I'd then come home, and that was it. And initially everyone was like, you're a weirdo, what are you doing? Everybody else would be playing PlayStation or doing whatever. And then all of a sudden it then just started to build and grow, and then it was like, yeah, I'm going to come to the gym with you. So then before I knew it, it was like I was then taking 4 of the lads to the gym. They'd all signed up with a membership. We'd all be training chest, arms and back because that's all that we basically did. Obviously, the most important muscles. And yeah, it then became like this thing. And it was almost like this is what I'm doing. And then people started to follow. But I always, in the back of my head, thought, I wish that I didn't have to go to training today and I could just go to the gym and that was all that I had to do. And it was this weird like falling out of love of football that I then started to have because I then stepped into this kind of like professional environment. I created all this kind of expectation on myself of what I needed to do, how I needed to perform. all these stories that I was telling myself. And obviously this was so important to me that this kind of fun and passion then almost got traded for like this stress and pressure. And I then basically went from wanting to play football every single minute of every single day to actually starting to resent football and being like, what am I even doing this for? I actually don't want to be here. I'm not even enjoying this anymore. I would basically just look forward to going to the gym and going home on weekends. And that was, kind of me. And I didn't really perform to the level that I could have done, should have done. And I do feel like I lost obviously potential there because of the pressure that I put myself under, and also the lack of knowledge that I had around a few kind of certain variables, especially with like training, nutrition, and recovery, and all of those good things. So yeah, that was kind of like that 2-year period of my life. Had some incredible opportunities, met some amazing people, played against some amazing players, and yeah, that for me was just such an incredible time. If I just look back, it's like living in a house with 8 other lads. We had our food cooked for us. All that stuff was absolutely brilliant. But I think all of those things taught me once again, like how to lead. I was the captain. So basically I was the guy that basically was the intermediate between obviously the players and the manager and then the first team. The power of basically roles, having roles and responsibilities, autonomy in terms of, right, okay, these are your tasks, this is what you now need to go and do. You're in charge of the balls, you're in charge of the boots, you're in charge of cleaning the changing rooms, the power and the importance of communication, the power and importance of just work ethic. And I'll never forget, there was a pre-season and they were making us do running. And like I was, apart from maybe one of the other lads in the first team, like the fittest player. And I remember we did something wrong. I can't remember what it was. It was probably like we didn't clean the bibs properly or something like that. So they basically made us run. Yeah, they literally just ran us. But because they knew that I loved running so much, they got the whole team to run, but I wasn't allowed to run because they were like, I still remember it. They're like, Joe will enjoy this, so you're actually going to sit out of this training session. And I remember they were running all these lads, and I wasn't allowed to run because it was like, that's not a punishment. So yeah, like I was definitely the workhorse and the engine, and definitely kind of it was more will than skill from a footballing perspective. That's for sure.
Yeah. And do you think that obviously it's kind of you spoke a bit about there about falling out of love with football and that kind of period and kind of getting distracted almost with the gym and going down that route. Do you think if you were in a different environment and things could have been different, or do you think that was the perfect environment for football that could have nurtured your career?
I think you always look back and it's like, right, if I'd been at a professional club at that level, probably would have been a completely different situation. But here's the reality is I wasn't good enough. Like I wasn't good enough to be at that level. So from my side, obviously, it was the right environment. And again, I look back at it now, and it wasn't actually about me becoming a footballer. It was actually me developing as a person. That's what that really taught me. Move out of home at the age of 16, move into a house of random people. Straight from school, I left all my friends, obviously back at home. They all went off to college. They were doing all these things. So again, it comes back down to that like feeling like outlier, never really fitting in, never really having like a real social, like close knit social group, because I was basically driving to Torquay or getting the train to Torquay every single week, and was obviously living away from home. So again, like I think that taught me a lot about life and how to behave and. Okay, like how to do things, and again, like the discipline, the structure. This is what we need you to do: clean the changing rooms. This is how you speak to people. This is how you communicate. This is how you treat people that work in the office. Like all these things. I think was just an incredible like learning curve and experience, obviously for me. So I do think it was the right environment. Maybe not to become a professional footballer, but then also I probably wasn't good enough to make the cut. So actually, from a life experience perspective, it's definitely shaped and molded a lot of the behaviours and a lot of the things that I now do now, 100%. And I wouldn't now go back and change it, although it does make me feel a little bit like sad that I didn't allow myself permission to enjoy that experience as much as I could have done, because I was putting so much pressure on myself and this huge expectation of myself because of A, wanting to be a professional footballer, B, wanting validation for other people to tell me how great I was, and C, wanted to be able to make my parents proud because of everything that they'd sacrificed to get me to that point, and almost then not wanting to feel like they never put that on me, but like wanting to let them down, because I saw what they had to do to get me, to that position, which is what they wanted to do, and there was no pressure. You just do whatever you want to do. You follow your path. So I think they're probably the things I look back on now.
Yeah, and during that time, do you think there was a kind of point where you were kind of falling out of love with it and kind of enjoying different things about your training? Do you think that what kind of headspace were you in terms of your future, and how did you see things shaping up? Did you still have that full focus that you wanted to be a professional footballer and that was the only option, or were you kind of exploring different avenues?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't really know. If I look back at it now, it was like, right, okay, well, I knew that if I got released, I'd basically be able to go to exit trials. If you go to exit trials, and there's the opportunity to then get picked up by another club or another team. Aside from that, I really didn't know what I was going to do. They were still in the back of my head. Well, do I then become like a PE teacher again? Because it was still that thing, which was, I just love, and all it was, the two influences of the PE teacher was, I was good at sports, yeah, and that was the only thing. And then my PE teacher, Steve, who I had massive, respect and admiration for, and I thought, do you know what, that's like a really good role model. And so somebody that I almost wanted to model in that way. So they were the two only kind of like real reasons. I didn't really know what else I was then going to then do, aside from that. I ended up getting released from Torquay, and then had this little bit of a kind of gap, and ended up just going to work in Tesco's for a couple of months. Back at home during the off season, whilst I tried to figure out what I was going to do. There was exit trials coming up. There was also, you basically got supported heavily and incredibly as well, by the way, by the PFA, the Players Football Association. They basically gave you grants, and they gave you a whole host of differing opportunities to now be able to support like life after football. So that was obviously massively influential as well. And again, another kind of platform that I was incredibly grateful for, because that created more doors, I suppose, in terms of what you could now step into. But yeah, at that point, I didn't really know what I wanted to do or what my next step was going to be. And I was also injured, because I look back at it now, I know exactly what happened. I trained Monday to Friday, played on a Saturday. I never trained legs. But so football, because obviously we'd be out, let's say 9 o'clock to maybe 3 o'clock. Obviously not training for the full time, but your legs would be so fatigued that of an evening time when I go to the gym, I just do chest, back and arms, and abs, obviously. And I got to the point where my football manager used to say to me, he'd be like, Parish, he'd be like, you've got the turning circle of a milk float, because this right winger would literally be, was it right winger? Left winger would literally be turning me into a pretzel. Yeah, he would. I still remember we were training a game against the first team, and there was this left winger who was unbelievable. He actually ended up going and playing in the Premiership for a period of time, and I remember he literally just tore me a new one for about 45 minutes. It was horrendous. And yeah, he basically turned around to me and said, yeah, you've got the turning circle of a milk float, because it took me about 5 minutes to turn around, because I was so like chest, shoulders and arms, I was all up top and skinny bot. So it was like, so what I believe happened, obviously I was so dense and I was so strong physically in my upper half. Lower half, obviously, I really wasn't. So I believe that obviously created this huge kind of like imbalance, which then obviously was hugely impacting obviously my stability and strength through my hip and my pelvis, which then led to basically me having this really prolonged groin issue. I had MRI scans, I had injections, I had specialists, and they couldn't work out what it was. And basically, I could play on a Saturday, I then wouldn't be able to move for 4 or 5 days. I'd then feel better, and then I'd be able to play on a Saturday again. And so even for me, I was just so limited, obviously, during that period of time as well. So that was also frustrating about the football side. I was like, can I actually even pursue and prolong a career within that? All I wanted to do, mate, was just train, lift weights, and drink protein shakes. That was it. I wasn't sure what the next step was going to be.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And yeah, I was kind of wanting to go on to kind of lead us up to where we're at now, and go back from where you were at Torquay, and then moving through university, and then into your kind of coaching business, and then into the high performance coach kind of direction. But we're about 45 minutes in now, so I think we'll wrap it up. and we'll maybe have to do a part 2 to where you go next from Torquay.
Yeah, mate. I massively appreciate you putting the questions together. Also, weirdly feel apprehensive / excited about doing this because, again, I suppose it's not until you start to speak it out loud that you just start to understand, right, okay, what are the paths that you took? Why did you take those paths? Why did you take that path? Who are your influences? Why did I make that decision on that decision? You know, and so I do think it's so incredibly like interesting in terms of like this journey and the path that you now walk down, and then starting to connect the pieces of the puzzle together to go, right, okay, this is now why I behaved the way in which I now did, and like these are the influential kind of foundations that have allowed me to kind of like do these things without necessarily kind of appreciating or knowing. So yeah, mate, I'm excited for the next episode.
Yeah, no, and even kind of thinking about why the way you are today, I still don't think I'm any clearer in terms of why you were the way you were right from the early days in terms of your upbringing, because you've obviously had an amazing kind of role models and kind of discipline in the family home and things like that have taught you lessons, but a lot of families may have that, but this child still will maybe show signs of rebellious behaviours or maybe just, they'd get to school and they'd throw the carrot and the apple out and they'd go to the vendie, but there's something that I'm still kind of wondering why you were the way that you were.
What, while I was the weird kid that was just gnawing on a carrot whilst everybody else was eating?
Yeah.
was going to the tuck shop and smashing Mars bars.
You sound like almost the perfect child that your parents wanted you to mould into, but when I think of kids, like I think of like rebellious states and going through phases and kind of different explorative phases, but for you it was very much, you were almost on that same sort of regimented path right from the early days.
I don't know whether it's I had so much respect for my parents in terms of what they did and what I saw that they were doing, and I just now wanted to be able to, like, of course, don't get me wrong, I was a little dick at points, but there was periods of times where I would come home after kind of after curfew.
Just because you wanted to do a few extra laps in the run.
Here's a funny story. Like, I used to go and play football down at the Rec, it was called, which is in the village. And we'd be playing Wembley singles or Wembley doubles. And like all my mates would be like, yeah, they're just cracking on, they're just playing or doing whatever. I'd literally have to be home for tea at 6 o'clock. Now, bearing in mind, like this was 1.5 miles, about a mile from my house. I'd play Wembley singles or Wembley doubles literally until like 5:58, and then I'd be like, how late can I leave this? And Leanne says this all the time, like she'll ask, is like when we do certain things, it's like I will literally leave it to like the smallest time frame possible to then be able to go and do the thing. And it was like, I'd be like, right, how late can I leave this? How fast can I now run? Actually, do you know what? If I left at 5:58, I could probably get another minute in of like playing footy. So I'd be like, how far can I now push this? And I kid you not, I'd literally be like, right, 5:58, and I'd absolutely leg it home, and it'd be like 6:04, and I'd be out of breath, and we, family dinner was tea with everybody every single evening was a really, really important thing. It's like, ask people how their day's been and what they've been up to and what did you learn at school and all those things. And again, like, didn't realise that actually how much I value, like I now value that stuff. But at the time, it's like I'd go around to my friend's house and they would be eating dinner in their bedroom or on, in the living room, or they would eat separately, and I'd be like, is my family really weird? Do you know what I mean? Is my family really weird that we do this? Because you don't know really anything else. So yeah, there's like certain things like that. I'm like, there's traits and characteristics there that really do start to then kind of, I suppose, like carry on with you. But I think it was like, I didn't want to let them down. I didn't want to let my parents down. I wanted to make them proud. I wanted to be liked, and I had such incredible support, and I just wanted, I don't know then why, what's the drive and the behaviour behind, that was really kind of behind that. But yeah, I just wanted to do obviously the best by them. But I think that was really instilled and installed by them more so than anything else. And like I said, like they are literally incredible people and made incredible sacrifices and have given us so many incredible opportunities to be able to now go and explore, and never really ever said this is what you need to go and do. It's like, well, let's just go and try a whole host of different things, and let's just try and give you as many experiences as possible, and then you find out what you want to do. And as long as you now give it your best, you try your best effort, then that's what you can ask for. Yeah, I stepped out of line quite a few times, but then again, my stepdad, disciplinarian, was like, again, in a important to note, a positive reinforcement way, was then kind of showed me then the straight and narrow, and I had huge respect obviously for him. And so yeah, and I saw what he had to do for me and what he did for me. So like, again, the Wednesday games, like turning, like that stuff, that level then showed me, right, okay, do you know what, if he's putting that effort, then, and the same with my mum as well, the same with other family, like, right, okay, I now want to make sure that I can then kind of contribute and try to not live up to that, but I suppose in a degree do so. But yeah, like make sure that I can try and give it my best.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Well, mate, thank you so much for sharing that and being open and honest with it. And yeah, mate, it's just left me kind of looking forward to where you went from Torquay to kind of now.
Yeah, I know I'm a weird, why we're carrot muncher.
Yeah, a lot of things are beginning to add up.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
Thank you.